Good afternoon, teacher and classmates. My name is Paola Castillo Rivera. I'm a lawyer student in Facultad de Derecho y Criminología, and I'm in the 5th semester of my degree program. Today, I'm going to talk about basic legal terminology in English, the main branches of law, the legal resources used by lawyers, the court process, and the people who participate in legal proceedings. Law is an essential part of society because it establishes rules that regulate the behavior of individuals, organizations, and government authorities. Learning legal terminology in English is important because many legal concepts, documents, international cases, and professional resources use English as a common language. To begin, let's talk about the branches of law. As law students, we know the law is divided into different areas because not every legal problem is the same. For example, we have criminal law, which deals with crimes and punishments. We have civil law, that deals with conflicts between individuals or organizations, conflicts that can involve contract, property, obligations, or damages. Another important branch is the constitutional law, which deals with the Constitution, fundamental rights, and the organization of government. There is also administrative law, which regulates the activities of public authorities, and labor law, that focuses on relationships between employers and employees. Finally, commercial law regulates commercial activities and business relationships. But how can we see this concept in a real situations? Let's imagine a simple case. Suppose that a person hires in a construction company to build a house. The person pays the company, but the company does not complete the construction according to the contract. What happens? First, we have a dispute. A dispute is a disagreement or conflict between two parties, and in this example, the dispute is between the client and the construction company. If the parties cannot resolve the problem, the client may decide to initiate a legal action. In other words, the person may start a lawsuit. The person who starts the lawsuit is called plaintiff. The person or organization being sued is the defendant. The plaintiff may file a complaint, which is a formal legal document that explains the facts of the case, the legal claim, and the plaintiff is requesting for the court. For example, the plaintiff could argue, the defendant failed to comply with the contract and I suffer financial losses as a result. Here we can introduce another important legal term, damages, that refers to monetary compensation that may be awarded to a person who has suffered a loss or injury because of another party's conduct. This is where attorney becomes important, because, of course, the plaintiff cannot simply make an accusation with supporting it. The plaintiff needs to prove the evidence to support the claim. And in this case, the attorney is a legal professional who represents and advises a client. It analyzes the case, prepares the legal documents, presents the evidence, questions witnesses, and defends the client's interests. The defendant also has the right to have an attorney and present a defense. This is related to another fundamental concept, due process. That means that people must receive fair treatment under the law and have the opportunity to know the allegations against them, present their arguments, and defend their rights. Now, we have to pass to another important team, who participates in the courtroom. First, we have a judge, that is one of the most important participants because they conduct the procedure, ensure that the rules are followed, and listen to the parties and make legal decisions. We can also have a jury depending on the legal system and the type of case. The jury listens to the evidence and arguments presented during the trial and determines the facts according to the applicable rules. Then we have the plaintiff and the defendant. Both parties have the opportunity to present their positions. The attorneys also participate actively during the proceeding, may present evidence, question witnesses, and make legal arguments. Another person who can support the attorney is a paralegal that can help with legal research, documents, case preparation, and organization, but doesn't have the same authority to present a client in the court. At the end of the trial, the court may reach a decision. When a jury determines outcome of the case, the decision is called verdict. So if we look at the intersituation, we can see how the legal vocabulary works together. First, there is a dispute, then one of the parties may initiate a legal action and a file complaint. We have a plaintiff and a defendant. The attorneys present the proof and evidence. The judge controls the proceeding, and a jury, when applicable, evaluates the facts, and finally, a verdict may determine the outcome. This shows us that legal terminology is more than memorizing individual words. Each term has a specific function within the legal process. In conclusion, legal terminology in English allows to understand and communicate legal concepts more effectively. The different branches of law, such as criminal law, civil law, constitutional law, labor law, and commercial law, address different types of legal problems and relationships. Therefore, legal English is an important tool for students and future legal professionals. Understanding these terms not only helps to translate legal vocabulary, but also allows to understand how the legal system works in a practical context and community more accurately in situations involving law and justice. Thank you.